Hello and welcome to the InterPlex. In the spring of 2023, I had an informative interdialogue with Colombian freshwater ecologist Silvia López Casas. López Casas is a research professor at Antioquia University in Medellin and also works with the Wildlife Conservation Society on important transboundary freshwater projects. We spoke about her basin-scale research into migratory fish species in Andes Amazon rivers, such as the Putumayo River, as well as the Magdalena River basin. Much of our conversation focused on some of the still little understood patterns of reproduction and nutrient recycling of these vital and fascinating migratory fish species, such as the Goliath catfish, and also the basin-scale impacts of dams on Andes Amazon rivers, such as those along the Madeira River. I began by asking her about the importance of Andes Amazon Fluvial interconnectivity and the importance of free-flowing Andes Amazon rivers for the lowland Amazonian floodplains.
As you know, the Andean Amazon connectivity is important not just for the amount of water, but also about or relative to the frequency of the floods, because as you know, the frequency of the floods is a signal to the fish to trigger the spawning in those migratory fishes. But in the Andean Amazon region, there are also other issues relative to the sediment load, because as you know, the Amazon floodplains are very poor, so they need the input of most of the productivity of the river is driven by the Andean sediments.
Okay.
And the productivity is if that sediments influence the productivity in the lakes and in the lakes of the floodplains, where the larvae and the feeds and grows. So when you lose when that sediments are missing, fish production also decrease. Since so many fishes uses the floodplains, not just the migratory, and use the floodplain lakes. In general, there is a fish production fall in rivers that lose that connection of the sediment. Yes, of the sediment load.
Okay.
That because sediments are trapped in the dam.
Right.
But migratory fish in the Amazon are very diverse, and they have like different patterns, several patterns of migrations. Some of them perform very long migrations between the estuary and the foothills of the Amazon, of the Andes, and other migrate along the river, but they maybe don't go on. There are some migrants that remains in the floodplains areas, but there are others that perform shorter migration than those that goes from the estuary to the foothills. They are more kind of local migrations in the sense of 300 kilometers.
Sure, still a long distance. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
6,000, wow. Is that the catfish?
Yeah.
The 6,000 kilometer?
Yeah. The catfish, the biggest catfish, migrate 6,000 kilometers.
Wow, that's incredible.
That is the longest migration of a fish on Earth, on the universe.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Because until now, this is the only planet with life.
Yes,
with
of
fish
course.
migration.
Do those catfish use the floodplains at all as well, or do they just go between the estuary and the Amazon and the Andes?
they use the floodplains. They use several habitats because the migration of them is very long and it's not performed in like some months. They are moving upwards in several months also, and includes like change in maturity even.
Sure.
But there are other fish like brocchilos, like bocachicos, other smaller bagres, smaller pseudoplatystomas, like the bagre rayado, the bagre pintado, the bagre tigre, sábalos that are bricons.
Okay.
That they do perform migrations of about 300 kilometers, 200 kilometers. It is not very good measures, but almost in all rivers of South America, they are in that kind of magnitudes. But they do more upward than the greater bagres.
Okay.
So if pseudoplatystoma, we are currently performing a study or starting a study to determine the highest migration of the biggest bagre, dorado, but we know that in the Rio Orito, in the Putumayo River, that is, I'm going to check.
So you're doing, but you're doing a study. You're doing a study now to test to observe the highest point of the migration of the bagre dorado.
Yeah.
Okay.
In several tributaries of the Amazon basin.
And that catfish it migrates up the Putumayo River to high altitude in the Putumayo?
No, it's not very high altitude. It's the big bagres are around 300 meters.
Okay, not that high.
Not that high. But the other smaller fishes, they go more to 500, 600, 800, according 900, 1,000.
Okay.
It varies according to the slope of the river.
Yeah.
And
so this is more the Piedmont, the Andes Amazon Piemonte?
Yeah, but the bagres go to the Piedmont. But for example, in Aguarico, it's 500 for the bagres.
Okay, around 500.
500, like we estimate, is the highest, but we are starting, so
yes.
Maybe it's a little bit more, maybe it's a little bit less according to the river.
Okay.
But it's the maximum, but there are other several species that perform migrations that are very important economically, locally, and that are smaller, but there are some of them that can reach 1.5 meters. Others are like 30 centimeters, 46, 70 centimeters. But they do perform migrations and higher migrations in the Andes. They penetrate more in the Andes, and they go to 1,000 meters, around 1,000 meters, according to the slope and the river. But,
and they also have their nurseries in the floodplains of the lower Amazon?
Yeah. And they also need like the connectivity between the Andes. They also lose their spawning grounds with dams, and some big dorados, and some even when there are several dams like in the Madeira River that are not very high, that were constructed in the floodplains. Those big fishes came from very long, came from the estuary. They are losing also their their spawning grounds.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the hypothesis that those fishes have like homing, like the salmon. That,
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to test that hypothesis, but it would be next year.
That's
but
very interesting.
That would be also very crucial
Mm-hmm.
for fish protection, because people say, okay, it's just one river or two or three, but when you consider that the fish belongs just to the one river,
Mm-hmm.
or can spawn only in one river,
Right.
the equation changes. No.
That's very interesting. So you're planning to test for different species to see if they have a certain honing signature for specific rivers.
Mm-hmm.
And which are those species again? The catfish and any others?
Yeah, the big catfishes.
The big catfish. Okay. Where have you done most of your work to this point? I seem to remember you telling me you worked in the Putumayo River.
Yeah, I'm working now with WCS, and they have WCS has a very big project now in the Putumayo.
I see.
So
Okay.
I'm working there, but I work in a regional office that works for Peru, Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Brazil and Colombia.
Oh,
So
wow.
we are performing this study in tributaries in 4 countries: Ecuador, Peru, Colombia, Bolivia, and Bolivia.
Wow. Okay. And that's with WCS?
And it's
That's
WCS.
Okay.
Yeah. And TNC and the Nature Conservation.
And TNC. Okay.
It's a we have a memorandum of understanding, and we are performing this together.
Great.
Guided or live, como liderado, by TNC.
Cool. That's a good project to know about. That sounds really interesting. And that's concentrated on the catfish or on multiple species. That large project.
The first year is just the Brachyplatystoma bagres, the big fishes.
The big ones.
Like Brachyplatystoma uruguense, Brachyplatystoma platinema, Brachyplatystoma roseauxi, Brachyplatystoma tigrinum, and Brachyplatystoma bailante.
Okay.
That are the dorado, pirabuton, the bagre zebra, the bagre rayado.
Mm-hmm. Which is the one that's called the Goliath catfish? Is that the dorado, or are they all?
Yeah, the dorado.
Dorado is the Goliath catfish.
Brachyplatystoma roseaux.
I wanted to ask you also about the different fishes, their role in transporting nutrients to different parts of the Amazon basin. So whether they're coming from the Andes or leaving the floodplains and then going to the other, like the Blackwater and the Clearwater rivers, are they? What is their role in giving more life to these other parts of the Amazon basin as well? Yeah,
most of those Blackwater rivers and some Clearwater rivers are somewhere, I don't know, in algunos lugares, are called fish of hungry, because the productivity of those rivers is lower, very, very much lower than the whitewater rivers. And since, as I told you, those fishes move between the floodplains a lot of Prochylodes, Anastomidas, a lot of medium and small fish move into those habitats. So they explode the productivity of those habitats of water rivers and white water floodplains, and then they move to the black waters where they are fed by, for example, dolphins, turtles. So they are moving nutrients, and since they also nutrients also. Yeah, but the production, the big, like they grow in those very productive habitats, and then they move and colonize,
Yes.
or recolonize or return to those more poor habitats. So they are moving a lot of nutrients that are crucial to the fast growth in the first stages of their life cycle. That it wouldn't be possible if the fast growing, if they remain just in black waters.
Right.
So big, like more like dolphins or turtles or those other animal species that feed on fish also rely on the importance of the productivity of the floodplain lake, white waters floodplain lakes, like indirectly, or I don't know when do you put the line in directly or indirectly, but if you put a dam in between those rivers and the fish are not able to spawn or to in those white water rivers, there are no fish production for that river.
Right, and no food for these other species.
Yeah.
I understand.
So that's the problem.
Of course.
And for example, in the Madeira River, there are some migratory that remained in the upstream of the dam, but productivity has been declining since the dam has been put there.
Yep. So I guess a lot of the research that you're talking about, a lot of the experience on the Madeira River applies to some of the proposals for putting other dams in the Andes region, on the Andes tributaries.
It's exactly the same. It's like, unfortunately, the Madeira River was a very productive river, and it has been a live laboratory of the impact of a dam in a floodplain for long distance, short distance, and non-migratory fish in the Amazon and this Amazon ecosystem habitats or ecosystems.
Since we're on this topic, do you know some of the other Andes tributaries that have proposals for dams? I know like the Huallaga and the Ucayali have some proposals in Peru. Are there other ones?
Ucayali, Medellin. Ucayali, almost all tributaries has a proposal. The only tributary that has no proposal is the Tumayo.
The only one, wow. The Caquetá?
Yeah.
The Caquetá also has proposals?
Has a proposal, but it's a smaller one, but it has.
In Colombia or in Brazil?
In Colombia.
Wow.
In Colombia.
Okay. I didn't know that.
But the only with non-declared, with non-intention is Putumayo.
Okay. That's good to know.
In the entire Amazon region.
Wow. So all of the rivers coming from Peru have proposals for dams.
Yeah. There is a paper with those data.
I'm understanding better about the floodplains. How different are the... Well, I guess maybe I should just ask the flooded forests that are more in the Andes Amazon Piedmont. How different are those in terms of fish species than the floodplains that are more in the lowlands? Are they different species
Yeah,
that use those habitats?
Yeah, there are some shared species, but in the high Andes there are few species with a lot of endemisms. When you are, as you descend in the longitudinal axis of the river, you will find more like a trade-off between more species but less diversity, less endemisms.
Okay.
And more production in the lowlands than in the highlands.
Okay.
Guided by the sediment loads and the geochemical recycling of nutrients in the highlands and in the lowlands.
Okay.
It's related with that, but there are a lot of species that are linked to the Andes that share the habitats because they are moving constantly around their life cycle between the foothills and the floodplains. And there are some other species that are just of the floodplains that are in the Amazon are a lot.
Sure.
Because the Amazon is very big. But the endemisms are reduced in the lowlands.
So there are more endemic species in the flooded forests of the foothills as opposed to the floodplains?
Yeah.
And are those migratory species as well, or are they mostly localized, endemic localized species?
Endemic localized species, but there in the floodplains there are also endemic species, but since the Andes is so big, since the Amazon is so big, it's like okay, it's endemic to the Amazon, but
sure, but that's huge.
The Amazon is like a huge ecosystem, but there are some that are endemic for small, that big basins of the Amazon, but are endemic. It's just that it's just, for example, in the Andes, the endemisms could be like one river for a small species from one river to other. But in the floodplains, it's like, since it's huge, it's one river to other, but it's not
right.
Like, for example, from Putumayo to the Chingu. In the Chingu River, there are a lot of endemisms, but the endemisms are not as restricted as in the upper zone of the Amazon.
I understand.
In the Andes. Okay, so they are both very diverse, Andes and Amazon, but due to the immensity of the Amazon, there are more fish species in the Amazon.
Right.
And there are a lot of diversity and endemicity, but the endemicity is not as restricted as in the Amazon and as in the Andean region.
Okay. And
was it clear?
Yes, it was clear. I have one more small question. So are the species that use the foothills as a nursery, like the Cananguchales in the foothills in Colombia, do those not migrate uphill at all into the Andes or downhill, downstream into the lower Amazon? They're really just more in the foothills, mostly?
There are some species that migrate upstream. Like small pilemelodus, small caracines. There are a lot, but are smaller species, or medium, smaller sized species.
Okay.
But there are a lot of species. Guido Herrera, a researcher a Colombian researcher that is working in the United States. I can't remember the university. He's we worked in a paper related with just for Andes Amazon migrations, and I can't remember now the number, but there were like 600 species at least
that migrated
as
wow
as migrants, and it has a bias because there are a lot of other species that people say that they moved, but it's not reported in scientific literature.
Mm-hmm.
So we think that we had a lot more work to do and to do. Then that number is just like a small vision of the fish migrations or fish movements patterns.
Mm.
But I can remember the number. It's we submit the paper recently, and I really don't know when it's going to be published.
But that's, very important research then too. So just extrapolating a little bit, if all of these proposed Andes dams were constructed, then that would put hundreds of fish species at risk that are migratory.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And not only fish species, also it would be, I think, strictly aquatic. For example, zooplankton and phytoplankton diversity endangered, but also some floodplain plants that relays on the nutrients of the Andes of the Andean region.
Right. Yeah, of course. I mean, I would think a lot of the biodiversity for the whole Amazon basin relies on the sediments and the nutrients from the Andes, as I understand.
Yeah, that's
it. And these pulses, I guess I skipped over that at the beginning when you mentioned, but the floodplain pulses signal the migratory species to then leave for their spawning habitats. Is that something that happens once per year, or it depends on the species, or depends on the floodplain?
In the Amazon region, it's the most of the species is like once per year because and the Amazon is monomodal.
Monomodal.
But the signal is like it's changed according to the river basin because it's moving. It's different for the northeastern or northwestern according to the path of the zona de convergencia intertropical.
Intertropical convergence zone.
Yeah. that doesn't move like straight completely, and it moves like forward, downward, forward, or upward, downward, and so the signal moves for some months in some rivers and other months in others, but it's monomodal.
Interesting.
For the entire basin, it's like monomodal.
And have these dams on the Madeira River, has it been shown to interfere with the flood pulse in any of the floodplains downstream from those dams?
I really don't know.
Okay.
I can't remember. I can't remember that I have read a paper reporting hydropeaking or the impacts.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Okay, sure.
It's more.
But that's certainly
most of the. It's probable for sure. I think, but I think that it hasn't been documented because just most of the papers focus on biomass of fishes, diversity of fish, and not in those kind of issues.
Right.
Because, for example, I don't know if you remember, we worked with endocrinal signal of the for fish.
Right.
There is how hydropicking. We proved that hydropicking has an impact in the endocrine system of fish that were migrating in La Miel River.
Yep, of course, remember.
And that's a small tributary, and that's a gender and a family of fish that is also present and migrate in the Amazon region. So I don't think that they are physiologists. I wouldn't expect that fish from the same family, the same gender, the same group of species has like super different physiological responses to the same stimulus that is the hydropicking. So I would say that it would be happening. It should be happening, but it's not recorded.
Not recorded. Well, sounds like also potentially important future research to show the impacts of the dams. Yeah, and of course, I remember that very interesting research, and we spoke about the Hydro Sogamoso, the potential impact it was having on species there for their spawning.
And for example, turtles. In the lower Amazon, turtles, and in the lower Amazon, no. For example, in the Putumayo, in the Caquetá, is like foothills and the Amazon rivers. River turtles are very important, and those river turtles need that the beaches. I don't know. Sorry if I'm not properly pronouncing.
No, it's fine. I understand completely. Don't worry.
They need that the beaches remains at least 2 months dry, because if they get flooded, the eggs die. So that's a very huge problem with dams and turtles in the Amazon.
And why are turtles so important? Just what do you see as their important function in the Amazon?
They are super important for the communities. Most communities consumes turtles as part of their protein diet. And turtles helps in their nutrients. Turtles are like crocodiles. They help to do more efficient the the recycling of nutrients in rivers and lakes.
Recycling of nutrients. Okay. Great. Yeah, all of this is so interesting and interrelated.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that I'm sure there's many things I'm missing. I'm just trying to stay focused on the role of the fish species, but is there anything else about the processes of the Andean tributaries, maybe not related to the fish species, that you think is important to share with me, and for the downstream biodiversity or anything?
For example, here in Colombia, in the Hidroituango, it is known that the changes in the floodplain periodicity changed also the evapotranspiration cycling. So it changed the local pattern of rains in the lower Cauca basin.
Oh, okay.
So for me, it would be expected also in the Amazon region. So
the dams could maybe have some local impacts on precipitation, is what you're thinking might be possible? Yeah. They are reported to have in any other tropical region, rivers, and so I think it hasn't been reported, or at least I don't know if it has been reported, but I think that it is super possible, because as you are retaining water in the river, you are not allowing the floodplains to flood as normal,
So the water is not as available to evaporate as it has been along the entire Amazon life. So that would be for sure. It would have an impact in the evapotranspiration cycling of the water.
That's really interesting.
And the rains pattern, local rains. And I recently read a paper that stated and that they proved that a smaller focus of deforestation has the impact of change the local water pattern. And the water and with a decrease in the total water that is raining for those small regions. Right. So for me, if you are not allowing the river to flood those areas, for sure it would be a change.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's also a focus of this article, and I've spoken to some researchers that are involved with the whole process of studying the transpiration and condensation and then precipitation patterns and how it moves towards the Andes. But that's another element that you're mentioning now. So I guess part of what you're saying is that with the water being held back by the dams and interfering with the natural processes of the floodplains, then the soils will be drier, which will impact the evapotranspiration, and then the whole process of condensation and everything that's related to precipitation. Am I understanding correctly?
Yeah, and also that as you are retaining the water and you only release amounts of water that related to the hydropower production, probably you will produce some floods, but those floods won't have the magnitude of the natural floods. So those waters or those inundated floodplains would be like shallower, and probably as they are shallow, they heat more. They heat faster. As they heat faster, they can't stand as many fish because the oxygen is decreased severely with the sun radiation, and probably it would evaporate faster.
Yep.
Or probably as they are just smaller in area, doesn't evaporate as many water as as normally evaporated.
Right. That's quite complex. Yes. I'm just kind of thinking about it. So there could possibly be more evaporation if it's hotter, but there could be less if it's a smaller area, and then there could be less transpiration because the soils are drier. There's less water available for the tree roots. All of these factors could be related. I would think that then impact the precipitation patterns over the Amazon. I suppose. And a lot of these are topics that are just being studied now, or they're more theoretical, or are
more theoretical. I think that in the Amazon, no one is doing anything like that.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting and important.
I just have read that related with deforestation, and I know those from the Cauca Valley due to a conversation with a researcher that has been working on that, and we talk about all these impacts in, for example, in systems like the Andes and the Amazon, but I think it's not published.
Right. But that's for the Andes.
For sure that would be happen.
And I guess part of what you're saying is that in that situation for Hidroituango, the situation is made worse because it's an area that's so deforested as well?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All really, really very interesting and important topics. Thank you for sharing that perspective with me as well.
Con mucho gusto.
Okay.
I hope it would be like helpful and yeah.
Thank you. Sounds like there's a lot of work to be done to understand these things in the future too, before damage is, before it's all ruined. So it would be good.
Yeah.
It would be good to emphasize how important that is to understand these things going forward.
Yeah, we are just guessing with all. We are doing the things and then asking or asking about the impact.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for making the time, Silvia. I really appreciate it, and I'll let you know how it's going through the process. Okay. Muchas gracias.
For sure.
Thank you for joining us for this interdialogue. You can subscribe to be notified of future episodes and by following us on our social media channels at the InterPlex. Visit our website, theinterplex.org, for more interdisciplinary and intercultural content and to join our growing collaborative community.